There are certain games that don't disappear because they were bad. They disappear because they were difficult to place. They didn't fit neatly into a genre. They didn't have a mascot. They didn't give you instant rewards. And because of that, they quietly faded away. Body Harvest is one of those games. If you grew up with a Nintendo 64, you probably remember seeing it. Maybe on a rental shelf, maybe in a magazine, maybe briefly at a friend's house. But very few people talk about it now. And that's strange, because at the time, Body Harvest felt huge. Not just in scale, but in ambition. When you first loaded it up, it didn't feel like other Nintendo 64 games. It wasn't colorful in the usual way. It wasn't playful. It didn't hold your hand. It felt serious. The environments were large and open. You weren't pushed down a single path. You were dropped into spaces that felt bigger than the screen. As a kid, that was both exciting and unsettling. You weren't told exactly where to go. You weren't given a clear checklist. You had to explore. And exploration in the late 90s wasn't something most console games trusted players with. Body Harvest asked you to move through different time periods, facing an alien threat that felt constant and overwhelming. Enemies didn't politely wait for you. They swarmed. They pressured. You weren't a superhero. You felt small. The controls didn't help with that feeling. Movement was heavier than you expected. Aiming took practice. Combat felt awkward at first. This wasn't a game that clicked instantly, and that mattered during the rental era. Back then, if a game didn't grab you within the first hour or two, it was already in trouble. You didn't have time to learn a game. You needed results. Body Harvest didn't care about that. It asked for patience. You had to understand how vehicles worked, how weapons behaved, how enemies reacted. You could drive tanks, jeeps, and other vehicles across wide open areas. That alone felt incredible at the time. Driving across fields, towns, and roads without invisible walls felt freeing. But it also felt lonely. There was a sense of isolation in Body Harvest that few games had back then. No cheerful music guiding you. No friendly characters explaining everything. Just you, the environment, and an overwhelming threat. As a kid, that feeling stayed with you, even if you didn't fully understand why. Body Harvest didn't give you constant wins. Progress felt uneven. Some moments felt incredible. You'd survive an encounter, clear an area, or successfully escape a swarm. And then suddenly, you'd be overwhelmed again. That unpredictability made it tense, but it also made it exhausting. This wasn't a game you casually played for 10 minutes. It demanded attention. Looking back now, it's clear just how ambitious it was. Large, open environments, vehicle combat, non-linear objectives. These ideas would become standard later. At the time, they felt experimental. And experiments don't always age well, especially when hardware limitations get in the way. The Nintendo 64 struggled with draw distance. Frame rates dipped, textures blurred. But even through those limitations, you could see what the game was trying to be. That's part of why Body Harvest is so fascinating now. It feels like a blueprint, not a polished final product, but a step towards something bigger. Another reason it faded is that it was hard to talk about. You couldn't easily explain Body Harvest to friends at school. There was no single character to latch onto, no iconic moment everyone recognized. You couldn't say, you know that part where, because everyone's experience was different. Some players barely got past the opening, others explored deeply. That made it difficult to form a shared memory around it. Games that survive tend to create common experiences. Body Harvest created personal ones, and personal experiences are easier to forget collectively. Going back to Body Harvest today is a strange experience. You immediately notice the rough edges, controls feel dated, the pacing is uneven, But you also notice something else: freedom. The game trusts you. It doesn't constantly tell you what to do. It doesn't over-explain. It assumes you'll figure things out, or fail trying. That design philosophy is rare now. Modern games guide you carefully. Body Harvest pushed you out into the unknown. That made it uncomfortable. But it also made it memorable. The irony is that many of the ideas Body Harvest explored would later become celebrated. Open world structure, mission-based progression, vehicles integrated into gameplay. At the time, it was ahead of the curve. And being ahead of the curve is dangerous. If a game arrives before players are ready for it, it risks being ignored. That's exactly what happened here. Body Harvest didn't become infamous. It didn't become beloved. It simply slipped through the cracks. And because of that, it became forgotten. But forgotten doesn't mean unimportant. Games like this push the medium forward quietly. They test ideas. They take risks. And even when they don't fully succeed, they leave traces behind. If you played Body Harvest as a kid, you might not remember every detail, but you probably remember how it made you feel, slightly lost, slightly uneasy, and strangely impressed. And sometimes, that's enough. Body Harvest isn't a game everyone needs to revisit, but it is a game worth remembering, because it represents a time when games were still figuring out what they could be. And sometimes, the forgotten steps matter just as much as the famous ones.
Retro hearts forever amplified. Oh, we're living for that pixel life. Game on, feeling so electrified. Plug in dreams, we come alive in that pixel paradise.